Yes. Jadi, but this time, this approach, I would choose not to discuss the details about the harmonic progressions or the theory behind it. But I'm more into like the background of it, the new ideas as a composer, and beberapa hidden ideas I think, which I think is very very important. Yang dari Beethoven ketika dia membuat lagu ini. Gitu. I'm pretty sure for those who are willing to know about the harmonic progressions, about the theory of the each note and everything, it's already out there on Google. You can just like Google, it's everywhere. There's hundreds of it. I was surprised by it. Like there's some of college students already written down the thesis and it's already there on Google. And so I'm not going to go into it. Yes, so I'm just going to go for apa namanya yang memang ide-ide dan wawasan apa yang saya bisa beri kepada Anda ketika Anda bermain Moonlight Sonata atau ketika Anda mengajar Moonlight Sonata atau ketika Anda bahkan mendengar Moonlight Sonata. Yes, so I'm just going to start with, can I share my screen here? So here we go. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay. So we're gonna start with the Beethoven Sonata. Yes. The title itself is Sonata una quasi fantasia. Jadi a sonata that more or less just like a fantasia, just like a fantasy. Yes. Jadi saya mulai dari backgroundnya dulu. Untuk Beethoven Sonata ini itu di-compose in 1801 in Vienna. Jadi waktu itu Beethoven sebetulnya ke Vienna itu per awalnya adalah sekitar tahun 1780-an, where he met Mozart at that time. And he played for Mozart. This is sort of like the background story. He was a big fan of Mozart. Every time Mozart has an opera, he just waiting for the score to come to his hometown in Bonn in Germany. So jadi setelah dia dapat itu, wah dia sangat excited sekali. So by the time in 1780 something 87, I think, he met Mozart in Vienna for the first time, and he played for him. And ketika dia bermain untuk Mozart said, play something else. And Beethoven said, like, okay, well, I will improvise. Give me a motive and I will improvise. That's how good Beethoven was. Because karena in the background, dulunya, in the history, sebelumnya with his father wanted him to become a musician, just like Mozart. So he forced little Beethoven, to practice with the violin and the viola. Yes. So jadi, but Beethoven, this naughty little Beethoven, just want to improvise. He would just like grab one thing and then try to improvise on one motive. Jadi itu yang selalu bertumbuh, dan sebagai salah satu, one of the most important things being a composer is to be able to improvise. Yes. So jadi, so he had to go back again to Bonn after he met Mozart and back again to Vienna. I think it was in 1791 or 92. Jadi dan itu apa namanya? This piece is also published in 1802. Jadi dia compose ini tahun 1801 dan published in 1802. Dan this period, we can say that this is still the early period. It's not really in the middle period. Like we all know that Beethoven has three big periods: the middle, the early period, middle, and the late period. So this is still the early period. In Vienna, he studied with big names composers like Joseph Haydn, for example, and there's also Antonio Salieri, and also he took some lessons with violin lessons And he was famous in Vienna eventually in the late 1790s. He was, you know, he became one of the virtuoso pianists in that city, Vienna. You know, in Vienna at that time in Europe, mereka banyak sekali orang-orang kaya, semua pejabat-pejabat semua dari seluruh Eropa, mereka semuanya berkumpulnya di sana. Tentunya tidak terlepas dari one of the safest place of the revolutions at that time. So jadi Vienna is more like Paris in the romantic period, or New York, for example, in this modern era. Ya, so Vienna di mana tempat-tempat itu semua hidup sekali. The street musicians, the street acrobats, all the arts are very, very important in Vienna. So Beethoven came into Vienna in the very, very the right time at that time. Then di sana, he knows a bunch of people, the noblemen, the patrons, who will support him as a musician, as a composer. Then he heard the Mozart Don Giovanni, and he was not obsessed, but he also already idolized Mozart at the time. And Mozart died in 1791, if I'm not right, in 1791. Yes, and then kemudian di situ dia pikir, wah, dia pengen sekali dengar yang namanya Don Giovanni di situ, and he was influenced by it to compose the Sonata Una Quasi Fantasia or the Moonlight Sonata. Although yang pertama, yang lucunya adalah it's not really Moonlight. Few years after his death in 1727, Beethoven itu ada satu kritikus, one of the music critics named Ludwig Rellstab, dan dia di sana ketika di Lake Lucerne, dia lagi menikmati liburan atau bagaimana, lalu ada sinar rembulan di sana, bagus sekali, so beautiful with that moonlight. And as he sees the beautiful moment, kemudian dia akhirnya terngiang-ngiang dengan yang namanya Beethoven Sonata, which is the 27 No.2. And since that time, so beautiful. So dia akan menamakan itu Moonlight, just like Moonlight in Lake Lucerne in Switzerland. And it was just glued until a few years later, until now, that this sonata is nicknamed Moonlight, which is there's nothing to do with it. Karena entah bagaimana sampai bisa beratus-ratus tahun kemudian ini nama menjadi salah satu nickname-nya, which is again there's nothing to do with Beethoven Moonlight Sonata itself. Jadi it has several pieces around that era. Di antaranya tentunya this is the continuations of the 27 No.1, which also titled the Sonata Una Quasi Fantasia. Jadi ini adalah nomor 2-nya. Jadi Beethoven itu selalu punya ide-ide yang memang inovatif. Tentunya dia punya ide-ide baru in compositions. He wants to get away from that traditional classical sonata form, for example. So contohnya misalnya di sini, he will start the sonata with a slow movement, and then it gradually increase the tempo until the last movement. So around this time, he already made 2 piano concertos, tentunya, and then he has done 1 symphony, the first symphony. The second one is still in progress in 1801, which is going to be premiered in 1802. Yes. Kemudian juga dia ada piano sonata, of course, Opus 26 and Opus 28. This one is Opus 27. And then he had also a bunch of other chamber music also. Like this one, the violin sonata, the serenade for flute, violin, and viola, the string quartet. And he was already have a 60% hearing loss at this time. Jadi dia itu sudah punya kehilangan pendengaran sebesar 60%, di mana sebelum-sebelumnya itu dia sudah merasa bahwa this is gonna be stressful. Poor Beethoven, yes. Jadi disitulah dia sudah mulai merasakan, no, I need to get away from this. Jadi dia sudah mulai stres, sudah mulai frustasi, sudah mulai itu. Tapi dia merasa pun juga dia tidak mau bergaul dengan orang-orang. He tried to hide his illness. Jadi disinilah dia coba memulai sesuatu yang baru. Kemudian dan bicara tentang Moonlight di sini, pada sonata una quasi fantasia ini didedikasikan untuk muridnya, Giulietta Guicciardi. Nah, ini ada satu yang menarik. Saya lebih mending mengulas mengenai this person, this particular woman that Beethoven wanted to dedicate this special sonata to this woman. Yes. Jadi forget about Moonlight. Coret itu big cross. There's no moonlight on this one. Jadi I would go with this pretty woman, Giulietta Guicciardi. Nah, I would say this Juliet atau bahasa Inggris sebenarnya namanya Juliet, tapi itu namanya Giulietta. Jadi di wanita ini adalah anak seorang pejabat dan memang betul-betul cantik sekali, very very beautiful woman. Dan keluarga Juliet ini mengenal Beethoven itu dari salah satu murid Beethoven juga. Jadi Beethoven waktu itu punya 2 murid perempuan, dan karena ini mereka juga keluarga Juliet baru datang ke Vienna sebagai orang kaya tentunya. Mereka mencari guru piano, kebetulan kenal nih. Ya, sosialita lah ya. Kemudian kenal dan akhirnya Juliet ini menjadi murid Beethoven. Usianya pada waktu itu Juliet ini masih 19. Ada yang bilang 16, buat saya sih kemudahan kalau 16. 19 pada waktu itu. And they like each other. Jadi si murid ini suka dengan Beethoven because of his music, because of his teaching. And Beethoven cukup dekat dengannya, cukup merasa bahwa wanita ini mengerti mengenai dirinya yang banyak sekali menyendiri, kesendiriannya. Nah, tapi naasnya adalah keluarga dari Juliet ini, dia tidak menyetujui si Juliet ini pacaran dengan si Beethoven ini. Karena satu hal, lain derajat. Mereka itu adalah dari keluarga-keluarga yang memang terhormat. Yes. Dan sedangkan Beethoven itu masih bekerja untuk keluarga-keluarga tersebut, disupport oleh keluarga-keluarga yang memang nobleman atau patron dari di Eropa sana. So jadi nggak boleh. It's a big no for Juliet to date Beethoven pada waktu itu. Nah, pada tahun 1803, Juliet ini akhirnya pindah ke Naples. Dan di sana dia menikahi seorang pangeran. Yang juga tentunya karena Juliet itu suka dengan musik, yang juga adalah suaminya itu seorang komponis amatir. Nah, from that moment we could see the situation in Europe at that time. Why women want to learn piano? Justru status sosial pada waktu itu sangat penting. Jadi kalau Anda itu adalah seorang putri dari keluarga yang memang nobleman, yang memang ada darah birunya di sana, itu sangat-sangat penting bagi seorang wanita untuk belajar musik pada waktu itu. Yes. Sangat wajar sekali. sangat terhormat, mempunyai nilai tinggi untuk dinikahi pada suatu saat oleh seorang pangeran. That's kind of ridiculous, yes, I know, but that's the status sosialnya adalah seperti itu pada waktu itu. And of course, it's not the violin. Yes. Makanya kita jarang sekali melihat painting-painting women playing the violin during the classical period. Jarang sekali. Yes. All we see is piano, women, painting sitting on the piano with this elegant neck and everything. Semuanya good posture, good hands, and semuanya itu adalah tergambar dalam painting-paintings yang ada. Of course, tentunya not the violin, and also not the cello. Yes. Karena kalau cello kan berarti dia harus duduk dan buka kakinya dan kemudian dia harus main itu just this big violin. Yes. Nggak anggun, it's not elegant enough for women at that time to play that instrument. Yes. Apalagi misalnya, well, of course we do have clarinet. We do have oboe, we do have woodwinds, we do have brass section, the trumpet. It's not going to be elegant for women at that time to play those instruments. Yes. Jadi yang satu-satunya yang terbaik is limited to piano. Jari-jari lentiknya kalau di painting itu terlihat, mereka pun juga bisa main itu dengan anggun sekali. So the piano is one of the most important for women instrument in Europe at that time. And Beethoven was already known for, one of the best teacher di situ. Nah, to make things, everything is being proven di sini yang akhirnya menjadi there's a proof of Beethoven still kept her miniature picture di mejanya ketika dia sudah meninggal. I don't know how Beethoven broken hearted itu last for how long, I don't know. Tapi ya, akhirnya dia masih simpan itu fotonya si Juliet ini sampai dia meninggal di meja belajarnya, di meja kerjanya dia. Nah, ada satu one important letter di mana Beethoven menulis ini untuk temannya. So he says like this, "My life is once more a little more pleasant. I'm out and about again among people. You can hardly believe how desolate, how sad my life has been since these last 2 years." 2 tahun ini dia merasa dirinya bahwa aduh stresnya minta ampun deh. Dan sudah mulai tidak bisa kehilangan pendengaran, sudah mulai menyendiri, orang-orang juga sudah mulai agak dia sulit bergaul. This change was caused by a sweet, enchanting girl who loves me and whom I love. Nah, look. After 2 years, I'm again enjoying some moments of bliss, and it is the first time that I feel that marriage could make me happy. But unfortunately, she is not of my station. And now I certainly could not marry now. And then he dedicated this piece to this girl, Giulietta Guicciardi. Jadi that's the story behind it. Yes, there's nothing to do with Moonlight again. Nah, ini adalah sonata yang ke-14, kalau tidak salah 14, betul. Setelah sonata yang ke-15, he is no longer put a set on his opus. After that, one opus is going to be one sonata. Karena dia we entering his middle period, the heroic period. Jadi disitulah dia pengen betul-betul menjauh dari the classical traditions after he made this sonata. Jadi everything start to become more innovative. There's lots of breakthrough sampai di penghujung hayatnya dia. Okay. Now, this sonata has 3 movements. First is the Adagio Sustanuto. is on 2/2 or Allegro. Yes. And then the second movement is going to be in Allegretto. And the last movement is going to be in Presto agitato. Yes. Now, before we enter the second half of it, I'm going to give you a video of it. It's not going to be some pianist playing the Moonlight Sonata, but just for the lighter side of it. Yes, many people played this one. Many. And I'm pretty sure if they don't have the recordings of it, I'm pretty sure they already sit down on it and then just played it. Like almost all pianists in this world have already played the first movement. And I was surprised when Kobe Bryant died. Alicia Keys stepped up and in the Lakers stadium and then played this one. Yes, and also I was surprised that Kobe Bryant, the basketball player himself, he played this one on video. He made a video clip of it. So jadi even the basketball player could play this one. Yes. Tapi saya tidak mau menyentuh ke sana. I want you to see this one. I hope that we have the sound of this one. Oh, nanti dulu. Kita bahas ini dulu. Sorry about it. So, this is the first movement. Before we hear the first movement. First movement ini, pertama adalah the tempo is pretty unusual because you start with a very slow tempo. Adagio Sustanuto. Okay. And this Adagio Sustanuto, tentunya is not in 4/4 the time signature. It's, it's 2/2 or alla breve. So we're not supposed to count in 4 beats in one bar, but 2 beats in one bar. Yes. Adagio, as we know, is, it means slow, one of the slow tempos. Sostenuto is sustained. Yes. And we all know that it has this one throughout the piece, throughout the movement, what we call the ostinato, the triplets rhythm as the accompaniment. And also we have this is before we play, we have to see this all. Si deve suonare tutto questo pezzo delicatissimamente e senza sordino. I'm not good in Italian, tapi artinya kurang lebih adalah seperti ini. Dimainkan with greatest delicacy, yes, very delicate, without sordino. Nah, ada beberapa sumber yang menyatakan it's not really sordino, but sordini, yang berarti itu damper. Jadi kalau kita tanpa damper berarti in our modern piano, berarti with pedal. We release the damper to have the sustained strings. Yes. So he told us to do this. And also di tengah-tengah di bawahnya, tentunya di very first bar, sempre pianissimo e senza sordino. Again, he emphasized on that senza sordino twice. Nah, again sekali lagi dia meminta kita untuk memainkan ini with open pedal, with the pedal. Nah, di sini I like to go back again to his pianos tentunya. Like we all know, Beethoven always demand that the piano should be louder, should be bigger, should be more advanced because of his ideas. Yes. Jadi semua pabrik-pabrik piano itu semua berlomba-lomba memberikan Beethoven sort of like try this, try that, try this, try that. So jadi pada waktu itu kita tahu bahwa in the late 1700 with the transition of harpsichord becoming a forte piano, we know that forte piano, the first pedal is not really used by our foot. Yes, it's actually by hand lever. Jadi itu dibuka. Ada kayak semacam kayak kita buka lemari itu ada knopnya di situ. Kita buka and the damper will be lifted. So we have an open strings. Yes. Haydn tried it. Even Bach's son, Johann Christian, tried it. Jadi itu semuanya yang akhirnya punya teknologi pada waktu itu, hey, we have an open strings, we have a sustained strings. Sedangkan di Beethoven itu semuanya mulai dari Erard, mulai dari ada berapa lagi yang dia sudah coba, itu sudah mulai modern pada waktu itu. Jadi Beethoven itu punya piano itu bukan menggunakan pedalnya, not really with the foot, but with the knee, dengan dengkul. Jadi kita kalau main duduk seperti biasa, itu dengkulnya itu akhirnya dia main seperti ini. Jadi diangkat, pedalnya itu di sini. Jadi cara kita menginjak pedal itu bukan lagi diinjak tapi diangkat dengkulnya. So it will automatically lift up the damper. Tapi dengan dengkul itu dia punya kesempatan untuk kita mematikan senarnya. Just like the modern piano. Yes, we can turn off the damper and we can actually step up with another sustain. Jadi itu yang kemudian dia coba. But through this, dia punya sempre pianissimo e senza sordino. He actually indicates the previous version of the older piano. Dia pengen ini semua dibuka. Sustain semua dari depan sampai belakang. Of course, we cannot do it with our modern piano. We just cannot do it. Yes. And ada satu pedal lagi di mana kalau kita kalau kita naikkan ke atas dengan dengkul, it actually works like kalau di upright piano itu ada yang di tengah ada mute piano. Jadi between the strings and the hammer itu dilapisi kemudian tengah-tengahnya mendadak ada kain. Itu juga sudah ditemukan pada abad tersebut. And Beethoven likes to do that with the sempre pianissimo. So he would have that, not really the una corda, but more like muted, sound with open pedals. You can check it out on YouTube. It's everywhere. Just search for forte piano pedalings and everything, and you could hear the sound. It actually works with the distant sound of this. Throughout the piece, dan nggak akan kotor. Nah, itu yang kita tidak bisa akan bisa mainkan dengan modern piano. Karena tentunya sonoritasnya lebih besar, resonansinya juga lebih besar, kemudian stringsnya juga lebih besar, ya, suaranya juga lebih besar, and every time we want to change the harmony, of course we need to change the pedal. Jadi itulah yang kemudian akhirnya kita nggak bisa melakukan itu di piano forte, the modern piano forte. This Anton Schindler in 1850, Anton Schindler is the Beethoven's secretary. Dia pun juga pada saat menulis biografinya Beethoven, dia juga berpendapat bahwa hal yang sama. It's almost impossible to use his expression markings di sini, his markings untuk pedaling di sini dan digunakan pada piano yang modern. Karena piano itu selalu evolve into something more sophisticated in sound. Yes. Tapi ada satu famous pianist, Andras Schiff. Andras Schiff believed that it should be played with one pedal throughout, but not all the way down, but only like a quarter of it. And he says that we should take this seriously, but please don't play that on the competitions or on the the auditions for students. It's a big no. Yes. Jadi tapi Andras Schiff really believed that it should be played that way. Nah, and then di akhir movement satu ini ada attacca subito il seguente. Jadi begitu selesai langsung main. Yes. Untuk yang second movementnya. And the big question of this is going to be, is it a sonata allegro form? As we know, the exposition, development, and recapitulations, it's actually modified. Some people like to call it a small version of sonata allegro form. Some people like it's modified. Yes. Jadi sampai sekarang itu masih belum jelas untuk itu. And the whole piece, there's no forte, not even a mezzo forte, I believe. And the mood, you have to set it up with the sort of like a funeral march. This rhythm right here. It could be a timpani, it could be a calling for trumpet when somebody's died, it's a funeral. Chopin later on did this. Again, it's the rhythm that typically used in European music and Western music become as the funeral march rhythm. Yes. Ada apanya ya, ada gregetnya gitu untuk supaya this is gonna be dark. Yes. And then ini yang saya temukan, well, as a composer, and Beethoven punya background in counterpoint, very very profound counterpoint student at that time with his teacher semuanya itu, dan dia selalu selalu mempunyai ide untuk mengembangkan sebuah motif. And I don't know, but I think he started off the first beautiful, I'm not saying beautiful, but the first melody on this first movement, it says G sharp, G sharp, and G sharp. Yes. Now I was wondering, did he really meant to do that as the initial of Giulietta Guicciardi? Jadi itu yang satu yang saya di opening, dia membuka itu dengan sesuatu yang kemudian dia, it's like calling for that woman, I think. Yes, his sadness that he's, well, you cannot marry her. Maybe, I don't know. And then there's another one, which is the descending three notes. We'll discuss that later on. Now, let's go back to Adagio Sustanuto. Yes, this Adagio Sustanuto ini menurut saya kalau andai kata ini, some people, if you see a bunch of people playing this, you will see a different tempo. I had this recording by Glenn Gould. He played this so slow, very slow. And compare that to, for example, Daniel Barenboim. He played a little bit too fast. Yes. Tapi tentunya everybody has their own opinion about the tempo. Yes. Some people would like to emphasize on Adagio. Some people like to emphasize on the ostinato rhythm. Some people like to emphasize on the alla breve time signature, depending on what you believe. Okay. Now, I don't know if you can hear the sound of this one. Is it? Can you hear the sound? Is it good? Okay. This is Victor Borge. Can you hear the sound? No?
Nggak kedengeran, Kak.
Nggak kedengeran. Okay. So can I just stop share this and then kemudian I reshare it again? Let's see. I'll go with this one then. Here it goes.
Come in, but you have to be very quiet because I'm practicing.
Oh, Mr. Borgia, could I come in and hear you play?
Yes, come right in.
Oh, terrific!
Be quiet. Yeah.
Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. I'll be real quiet.
Very good, very
Yeah,
good.
what are you going to play?
I'm going to play some Beethoven. I'm playing the Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven.
Oh, go ahead, yes.
I don't think you would like it.
Why?
See what it says here? Con molto tedioso.
What does that mean?
That means with great dullness. I don't think you would like that. Not the way you came in here. Yeah, that's it.
Don't go, please, please, for me.
Okay, you have to be quiet.
Okay. Shh.
That's the Spanish composer, El Beethoven. Oh.
You made a mistake.
No, that's the way I wrote it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Borgia.
Is it all over?
That was fascinating.
You think that was fascinating? Well, you can come back later and watch me tie my shoes.
So, jadi as you can see, let me try to wait. Okay, everybody's seeing that video, okay? Because I cannot see you guys if it's kalau itu suaranya ada atau tidak. So, jadi itulah dia yang salah satu sama seperti yang kita sekarang. Kalau kita misalnya andai kata kadang-kadang menjuri gitu kompetisi gitu atau apa gitu, suddenly we see on the program Beethoven Moonlight Sonata. Oh, okay. I hope that he's not gonna pick the wrong tempo. It's gonna take a long time. Yes. Jadi itulah salah satu yang memang yang harus kita coba untuk kemudian kita bisa mengerti apa sih sebetulnya yang dibutuhkan ketika kita bermain. Only the first movement. It's not actually constructed as one movement, but more as a whole, as a complete sonata. Then it's gonna be the magnificent sonata. Yes. So, jadi itulah yang kita akan coba untuk itu. So this time I'm gonna try to coba untuk mengulas mengenai the first movement. Kira-kira apa saja sih yang kira-kira menjadi beberapa hal yang penting di sini? Okay, wait a minute. Saya akan coba untuk stop sharing ini dan kembali ke sini. Wait. How come I cannot see you guys? Just 1 second. Oh, here we go. Jadi saya akan mencoba mengulas mengenai Ini kelihatan skornya kelihatan di sini? Kelihatan oke?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Good.
good. Karena I cannot see you guys. Jadi di sini saya bikin beberapa notes untuk itu. So kalau kita melihat di sini, the G sharp is going to be the center. Yes. As we know tadi seperti even the melody start with the G sharp. Nah, kemudian di sebelah sini juga kemudian it has this idea of descending 3 notes. So we have the C sharp, the next one will be, and the next one will be. So he will keep that idea for the entire movement. Nah, di sebelah sini juga misalnya he started off like I said before with the initials, maybe, maybe not. Yes. Dan kemudian di sini another descending 3 notes idea. After he mentioned about and it goes and then finish. So ini yang biasanya karena dia memang jago untuk memodify a single simple motive into different rhythm, different variations, different speed, gitu. So jadi dia memainkan ini peran ini semua tuh dengan baik sekali. So in this section over here is the first encounter in major keys. Suddenly he will play this one. Compared to this. Now we have no. So we see a glimpse of brighter color, but he said, no, not yet. He changed back again to minor key. Yes, right in the next bar. I won't let you stay dark. Yes. Kemudian sama juga di sini juga sama. We have this more intense descending 3 note steps. And then kemudian di sini another theme, another motive introductions. Mungkin ada yang sudah tahu, mungkin ini akan munculnya nanti di mana. Yes, I'll give you a clue. It will show up again in third movement. With this very simple one. First one, repetition. Dia mengulang itu sampai 2 kali di sini. Yes. Pelan-pelan dia bilang, oh, I'm gonna play this theme again soon, but I don't know when. On the third page, di sebelah sini, kita melihat ada another 3 notes descending. Yes. Di sini juga ada kemudian so he will keep that idea again and again. Secara mungkin tersembunyi di situ. And then kemudian di sini we have the dominant bass extension. Look how he will extend this G sharp. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 bars with only G sharp. Again, like I said before, the G sharp will be the center. The dominant of the C sharp minor will be the center of this whole movement. Yes. Sisa-sisanya semuanya dia akan pergi kemana-mana with this diminished building up the tension, ideas for rising arpeggios. Untuk yang third movement, as we know the third movement will go namun di So with this, rising arpeggios to build up the tension. Pelan-pelan kita diracuni dengan this is the idea, this is the idea. Nanti keluarnya semua, everything that we heard on the first movement and on the second movement is all gonna be out in the third movement. Yes. So jadi itulah yang dia coba mau sampaikan ke kita. Now some people said that this is going back to recapitulations again. It's condensed sonata form, modified sonata form, or sonata form in the form of fantasia. I don't know. Yes, fantasia is supposed to be sort of like a through compose. It's just one atmosphere, one color, and we have to go with, kayak di awang-awang semua. Itu yang dia mau coba tanamkan. And again, remember what we had before when we were in E major, and suddenly he cancelled everything back to minor. Now again di sini dia kembali lagi ke E major, but this time a little bit longer, sampai dengan ke halaman yang berikutnya. Yes. And then there's another one on this one. I forgot to mark it off on this one. Ini juga salah satu bagian yang penting di sini. Di sebelah itu juga salah satu yang akan di-repeat lagi oleh Beethoven di belakang-belakangnya. Yes. Jadi dia selalu memulainya. So that idea will come up again on the third movement. Di sini dia ada coda. He changed the voice into the tenor voice, boom, or the timpani, whatever you want to call it, as the boom, ba. Dia will reflect that rhythm again and again and again and again and again, just as the funeral march. Dan akhirnya di sini sudah pianissimo. Look at that, pianissimo on this, and the last three bars he wanted us to play decrescendo all the way to pianissimo, maybe pianissimo again. So jadi itu yang kita agak sulit untuk memainkan itu di piano modern. It's so big, yes, the resonation semuanya, sonoritasnya itu besar sekali. Jadi itulah yang masih memungkinkan untuk dimainkan pada forte piano. So, itulah dia the first movement, dan kita akan kembali ke sekarang adalah ke yang second movement. Now the second movement is the lighter version. Very short, only one page. It's in the key of D flat major, which is the enharmonic of C sharp tentunya ya. Kita nggak pernah akan mau baca key-nya misalnya C sharp as the key signature. Maybe Scriabin would, tapi kalau misalnya in Beethoven mungkin masih lebih enak baca di D flat major. It's in 3/4 time signature. And di sini di skornya tertulis la prima parte senza repetizione. Dan di situ artinya untuk bagian yang pertama itu tidak memakai repeat. But some people like to play, dari situ kemudian ke trionya, kemudian balik lagi, kemudian finish. It's in minuet and trio style, lighter style between the two movements. Liszt bilang bahwa movement ini adalah layaknya kayak satu tempat taman bunga kecil di antara dua jurang atau dua tebing yang besar sekali. Jadi itulah dia yang diartikan Liszt untuk movement yang ini. Now we have another ideas of this. It's the descending four notes idea. Nah, di sini saya mau kembali share lagi untuk yang skornya sekarang. Skornya tadi adalah how come I cannot see the score? Oh, here it is. Okay. Now, can you guys see the score? Okay, good. Now we are entering the second movement. Nah, di sini kalau andai kata kita lihat, the four notes on the beginning we have this one on the left hand as the legato one, and the answer will be on the top one. Again, it's descending four notes. Yes, but it's hidden. Probably. Again, another one. So this idea evolved from the three descending notes to four descending notes. Brighter color from C sharp minor to D flat major. So it keeps increasing. Yes. Nah, di sini juga sama. Di sebelah sini, again, he changed that more like a little scherzo opening on this. Di sini diganti suasana into lyrical legato lines. Dan di sini, it's the first recapitulations idea from the first movement. Remember? So, dia akan memakai itu metode itu di hampir seluruhnya di sini juga. It's hidden, but it's there. Yes. Dan kemudian how do I? Okay. Here we go. In the trio, we have the horn sound, which are going to be appearing again on the third movement. He indicates on this one, kalau saya bikin lebih besar, he specifically indicates that FP is supposed to be on the A flat. And also on this one. Yes. It's that it's more like a calling di sini. Dan di sini, again, another lower voice descending four notes idea. Kita bisa lihat di sini, there's a B flat, an A flat, and then G, and then F. It's hidden, but it's there again. Once again, we have them. Di sini. Jadi itulah dia yang Beethoven coba tuangkan ke dalam second movement ini. Pinter dia, taruh sini, taruh sana, taruh sini, taruh sana, taruh sini, taruh sana. Dan kita bahkan tidak tahu bahwa, hey, we played that thing over and over again. Jadi itulah salah satu geniusnya dari yang namanya Beethoven. And believe it or not, in the Romantic era, Chopin and Liszt also using the same technique. As we know, Liszt selalu tergantung dengan one or several motif, and then he will, develop that motif into something else, into something another color, yes, darker or lighter color. Itu selalu yang tulis. And kemudian we enter for the third one, the last, the finale of the third one. Nah, di sini untuk yang di presto di sini, Beethoven akhirnya mengeluarkan formnya, yakni sonata allegro form. Biasanya kita di belakang-belakang we know ada beberapa mungkin yang biasanya adalah rondo form, the A B A C A B A. But this time the sonata form is going to be on the last one, complete one. Bahkan lebih bermodalkan seperti more like a concerto, a first movement concerto. So this is the first movement, and ini yang kita dengar di sebelah sini, same notes like the first movement indicating the release. Kita tahu bahwa the first note of first movement, okay, dan akhirnya itu kemudian dipakai ini seperti itu. Yes. Lalu kemudian di sebelah sini we do have a long horn sound. Remember from the second one? It's the same note again. The second one we do have sekarang dia again there are the same notes again, using that horn calling again. Dan kemudian ada lagi di belakang, ini pembagiannya saja. Right here we have the lyrical G sharp minor. We have the second theme on this. More lebih kayak elemen, so kayak ratapan untuk itu. Di sebelah situ. Dan kemudian kita lanjut lagi ke this more like first movement inverted element. Kemudian di sini juga, nah ini diambil dari tepatnya dari first movement tadi. Ingat yang tadi? Tapi di sini dia idenya sama, tapi kemudian dikeluarkannya dengan cara yang berbeda. Yang pertama tiba diri. Yang ketiga ini ya diri tiba baba. Same idea. Okay. Dan di sini kemudian tepat di, kita tahu di sebelah sini ada tersembunyi memang. How do we get this? It's the descending four notes from the second one. We have this. Diambil berdasarkan dari apa yang dia sudah lakukan di second movement. Jadi sebetulnya kalau kita melihat justru yang di third movement besarnya minta ampun ini, dia mengambil elemen-elemen itu just break ini semuanya di third movement, and let's see what happened. Yes, ini juga sama. The first movement descending hidden melody technique, yang sama juga keluarnya. Kalau kita mau pretelin ini lagi semuanya sama. Again, dia pakai seperti itu lagi di mana-mana. Yes. Next, kita tiba dengan yang namanya, this is the development section. Clearly development sections. 2 pages. Dan seperti biasa, in development dia pasti travel kemana-mana. Kita tahu itu baik Mozart, Haydn, Beethoven. Sometimes they have a long development section, sometimes they have a very short ones. Nah, ini tetap sama. Metodenya adalah tetap sama. Dia travel through the keys sampai akhirnya into this. This G sharp again held it for several bars, long bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Hampir 13-14 bar. Just to get preparations to get back to the recap. Dan kembalilah ke recap. Nah, lucunya di recap ini sama seperti dengan yang exposition tadi. We stay in tonic in the C sharp minor. Dengan berbagai macam ide-ide dari first and second movement. Kemudian juga, nah, di sebelah sini we do have the unusual. Kita tahu bahwa in piano concerto usually we have the cadenza on the first movement. Dan biasanya sebelum cadenza, sebelum si soloist itu main, pasti ada penutupnya adalah ada tutti, yes, ada orkesnya yang bermain dan with the big ones, big sound before we enter the cadenza. Now this is what happened on this movement. We do have this. So that's more like the orchestra. And now the soloist. Indicating the themes again, and kemudian dia mulai naik lagi. Dan semuanya. So this is more like kalau dia mau bikin sesuatu yang besar, yang third movement nggak tahu. Dia bikin seperti more like a concerto itself. Yes. Dan yang terakhir adalah setelah dia selesai dengan kadensanya, we have this. Coda. Dan disitulah dia kemudian menutupnya. So, jadi kalau andai kata kita mau mengartikan itu semuanya untuk yang third movement is completely the release of something big untuk apa namanya, untuk so let me go back to this one first, untuk atmosfernya gitu. Jadi what happened? Here we go. Sorry. Yes. Okay, that's better. So, jadi inilah yang kita bisa simpulkan untuk yang the third movement, di mana semuanya seperti tadi saya bilang, ide-idenya itu diambil dari sana semuanya, dan akhirnya kemudian bisa kembali lagi ke sebuah sonata form yang seharusnya ada di depan. The mood should be like more like the release of Inferno or the devil, more chaotic, whatever you want to try to do it. Yang pasti itu adalah luapan dari apa yang kita coba tahan dari sadness the first movement, kemudian sedikit colorations, brighter color on the second movement, and now we go for the finale untuk itu. Nah, saya rasa untuk kali ini saya rasa penjelasannya dari saya begitu saja. Saya kembalikan mungkin ke Christine, silakan.
Thank you so much ya, Levi udah narrate us all the way from the beginning to the end. You actually had the idea of how the first movement has this G sharp initial of probably the lover that is so hard to get, the GG. Actually, kita bisa melihat banyak sekali ide-ide romantik. Once you move to romantic period, you know, like Schumann, also Liszt, you mentioned, their motive comes from this initials. You know, of course, many of you are familiar with Schumann Opus 1 is Abek.
Yeah, Abek variations, yeah.
And also, yeah, his shift from the first movement to the last also shows how he is moving to the middle period, and it's actually paved way to the romantic period. He already has that idea. And that's why he was said to be a transitional composer. And how he actually transfigured that G sharp motive in the beginning. And to the end, if you notice the ending, from that G sharp comes back.
Yes,
yeah?
See?
Yeah, so in the beginning, that one. Yeah, and how closely you stay to that. So yeah, very, very good and clear. So whether you are listening to this and you know the G sharp, you know, you will listen with expectation and with more focus with your listener. And if you teach, you already know that G sharp, so you bring that and maybe you could see in any other hidden way yang mungkin kita nggak lihat pertama, kedua kali. The more you read the score, there's a lot of things to discover that you never know what you're going to discover next.
Correct.
So yeah, thank you for you know, actually giving us this idea. And if it doesn't matter how many times you listen to this, and I believe it's just like great poetry or painting. You know, the more you see it, the more you know, think about it and meditate. There's always more to discover.
Yes,
this could probably
absolutely.
the first step. Yeah. So thank you so much for opening this way and opening our mind. This is more than just the usual, all this commercial. You know, it's
right.
Yeah.
It's not really like an elevator music anymore.
Yeah. You probably don't want to play this in a competition because, you know,
right. Like I said before, the first movement doesn't stand alone. It's supposed to be like a complete movement. You know, then you could see the clear picture.
Bener banget. So yeah, there was a lot of romantic ideas. So such deep, you know, just Beethoven, how he always liked to tie all this motifs among the movements. So as a pianist, mungkin pertama kali kita mungkin concerned more about learning the right notes. Yeah, maybe after that you move on to, once you know the G sharp motif that keeps coming back, or the 4 descending notes, you know, when it happened again, you know, kayak kita kedua kali atau ketiga kali mendengar suatu statement yang sama, well, maybe the way we react to it is different, yeah. And then we think about how is it different in the beginning when it presented in the G sharp, and then at the end, how did it change to that, yeah?
Yeah.
And yeah, everything was very quite neatly tied together. So, and also given his situation, yeah, it's very sad how the condition that he had to face during that time, his loss of hearing,
right.
Dan dia tidak, yeah. Talking about that.
Ya, untuk itunya juga masukku juga. Well, he struggles with everything, almost everything. Well, he's a heavy drinker, and kemudian juga karena he's so frustrated with his hearing loss. So every time he speaks to people, he speaks very loud. So people consider him as, no, I don't want to get close to him, you know, because they think that Beethoven is mad while he talks, you know, because he couldn't hear it well. Kita tahu bahwa orang-orang yang mempunyai pendengaran yang kurang, mereka biasanya berbicara lebih besar ketimbang mereka seperti kita gitu. Kita bisa berbicara bisik-bisik, tapi mereka cenderung berbicara tuh lebih besar. So orang yang di sekelilingnya itu biasanya tuh mereka, no. Mereka akan menyingkir dari itu. And it's frustrating for Beethoven untuk itu. Terlebih, he's as a musician. Sometimes he wanted to conduct his piece, his symphony, his concertos, his chamber music. He wanted to play that. He was a viola player in an orchestra too. Tapi he's not being able to hear anything. Dan itu ya it's frustrating for musicians untuk supaya dia bisa apa namanya bisa kembali tetap produktif sampai let's say 20 almost 30 years later setelah Moonlight Sonata. So I think yeah.
I think if I wanted to add something besides his hearing loss, also he has this health problem, his acid reflux, something like that, colic. If you listen to the Symphony No. 2, the beginning, I think the last movement, there's what he tried to. It's actually quite humorous. The last one is the sound of all his intestine problems in there. If well, they can try to tie all this with what's happening. Sometimes we can see a relevance, but sometimes we don't. But it's good to know a little bit about the background and see why Beethoven write this way. You can tie it with his hearing loss or his intestine problems, his gas, acid reflux. So yeah. And then maybe if you had time, you could read this letter that he wrote waktu disuruh dokternya untuk menyendiri di country. That he wrote this very important, maybe Heiligenstadt testament that he talked about how devastated, even to the point that he wanted to commit suicide. Cuman karena at the end he was saying this is because of art that saved him, but he didn't. Of course, he didn't do that. But he was so close, But being Beethoven himself, like being the ego, like he's too shy to mengakui I have hearing problem. Can you please say that again? Dia nggak mau mengatakan itu. Jadinya dia dianggap orang-orang dia tuh misantropik. Orang nggak mau bergaul dengan orang lain. So it's a very sad truth, but that was how Beethoven. I think the more opposition he faced in his life, we could see his composition becomes a bit more bold, and if you could see as it moves to the middle style, that he worked with, that really characterizes his strong personality. Yeah, that's what maybe a little bit of that. Maybe sekarang we're going to open a time for ada question now. I think there are some question that we have here. Ada yang mungkin tadi ada yang menanyakan tentang open pedal. I think in the very beginning, I tried to scroll up. Let's see. Okay, since it is in 2/2 Adagio, Mr. Levi, do you think most recording of this movement is too slow?
I think it's not. Some people play the right way. It depends on the what I'm trying to play on the tempo. It's trying to connect the bass line first. If the bass line decays sebelum dia sampai ke the next note, then you're playing too slow. But you really need to connect the bass line in certain way so it doesn't get disconnected. That's the right tempo. I mean, like if you play in a very sophisticated with an acoustic hall, then you have more gemanya kan lebih banyak. Yes. So berarti you probably want to play a little slower. But if you have a very dry studio, then you probably want to play a little bit faster. So it all depends on the sound. It depends on also on the 9-foot piano compared to the upright piano. So every pedaling has a different sustain length. Yes. So it depends on your tone, on how you set up the tone on this. Christine, do I still need to play my playing of this?
Yes. Are you going to share your playing?
I do. Well, yeah, I have. I recorded it yesterday. And
that's good. Okay,
in the
now with the
music
performance.
school.
Yes, good.
Okay. Well. Okay. So I'm just gonna share this one. Wait a second. Okay. Do we still have time?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So this is
That's the most exciting part. Nggak bisa dilewatkan.
Okay, I hope that the the connection is okay. We all struggle with the connection. We all depending on the connections. Let me turn everything off first. Mhm. Sorry it takes too long. Oh, here we go. So this is how I play the first movement. Can you see the picture?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Videonya jelas.
Sorry about the noise.
Bravo, bravo, bravo.
Thank
Wow,
you.
wow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sampai sempetin recording, terus ulasannya juga detail banget. Thank you so much for
I'd
sharing
rather
with us,
recorded
you
it
know.
than playing it live over here now.
Well, that's fine. We need to hear, you know, and remember what you just taught, and now we start to listen more to that motive, right? I hope it changed the way you listen to this, you know, overplayed piece. I hope it became a new, fresh piece just now, ya. So thank you so much for sharing with us. Tadi ada satu lagi pertanyaan dari participants about the open pedal technique gitu.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you want to say something about that.
Okay, well, there's a bunch of information that you could do on Google, especially when you Google about the pedaling of forte pianos. As we know, sekarang kita kalau merek piano itu kita pasti taunya ya Steinway, Bosendorfer, ya Yamaha, Kawai, semuanya memang sudah distandarkan as the modern piano. Yes. Tapi misalnya Fazioli, they have 4 pedals already. Yes. Ya, dan saya tahu ada kalau tidak salah one professor of Indiana University, Jura Margulis, one of my favorite pianists actually. Dia bekerja sama dengan salah satu merek piano yang memang sekarang ingin menghidupkan kembali 4 pedals. Nah, pada waktu itu in forte piano, pada waktu itu semua masih mencari-cari standarnya itu harusnya seperti apa sih untuk itu. Karena kita tahu bahwa piano-piano sebelumnya, it's the transition between the harpsichord and the piano. Harpsichord cannot do dynamics, but forte piano could do loud and soft. Yes. Nah, dari situlah mereka mulai mencari-cari bagaimana how to sustain the strings, how to sustain the sound of strings longer. Gitu. So, jadi itulah yang Beethoven sebetulnya juga mau gitu. So, jadi every kind of mechanical thing semuanya diinstal, kemudian dicari bagaimana caranya supaya mempermudah. Bahkan ada satu piano di mana kalau kita ada 4 lever, knee lever, jadi agak ke kanan sedikit, kalau kita naikin dengkul kita ke sana, itu di dalamnya bunyi kayak kecerikan. Jadi kayak apa namanya, jadi rame gitu loh. Jadi kayak misalnya kita main keyboard dengan berbagai macam suara, ada suara trompet, ada suara oboe, ada suara apa. Tapi dulu tuh piano yang dimana bahannya cuma itu doang, strings, kayu, kemudian beberapa metal dan suaranya ya cuma seadanya saja. Tapi for the composer at that time, for the pianist, well, I'm not saying only composer, karena composer are actually the pianists themselves. Mereka justru they're having fun of it. They try to explore what can I do with this instrument, gitu. Instead of just being karena piano is salah satu media yang bisa nyampai ke masyarakat. Compared to if you want to listen to orchestra, for example, you need to go to the hall and listen to it. But the reduction of misalnya Mozart opera can be played on piano at home. Gitu. It's more intimate. So, jadi para pembuat piano pun juga mereka berlomba-lomba untuk supaya bisa mengikuti apa sih sebetulnya yang pianis mau, apa sih sebetulnya yang para komponis itu mau. So the sustain and on the forte piano is not really that long, actually. It's not really as long as the modern piano. If we hold that pedal throughout the first movement, itu pasti very muddy. Kita nggak bisa dengar apa-apa lagi di situ. But on the forte piano, I need to try those once in my life untuk suatu saat that it's possible to do it. Karena dia punya sustain itu pendek. Jadi kalau misalnya kita pencet misalnya the C sharp start with this 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's already 10 seconds and that C sharp still over there. Yes. Tapi dengan forte piano is probably less than 10 seconds and it's gone. Jadi they create some distant sound yang Beethoven mau. Sama mungkin halnya dengan modern piano with Debussy. Yes. With Debussy, he also again mencari warna apa sih yang bisa dikeluarkan oleh piano. Instead of just the traditional romantic way like Chopin, and singing style, or Liszt membuat piano itu menjadi sesuatu yang as a very entertaining, very lively, very apa namanya, dia bisa as a showman, untuk bisa seperti as a rock star misalnya. Tapi Debussy again, he goes deeper into the piano, and then experimenting with the pedaling and with the sound, different sound, and with the tone dan semuanya itu. So that's probably what Beethoven did, experimenting with the new forte piano and the old version of one, di mana pedalnya waktu itu seperti yang pakai tangan. Nah, makanya dia juga berhati-hati sekali. I would say that dia agak sedikit diplomatis. It says Adagio Sustanuto. Okay, we can say that it's slow, sustained, probably even slower. Tapi dia juga bilang ala breve, hitung 2. Hey, that's not slow. Yes. Jadi agak sedikit diplomatis bahwa you cannot play too slow or you cannot play too fast. But I want slow. Got it? So, jadi itu interpretation-nya setiap orang pasti akan berbeda-beda. Kalau buat saya pasti akan mengikuti the baseline and the sound of it supaya jangan sampai dia hilang. It's still going to be continuous. So that's my opinion.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, maybe try different things and see what you like. Even with what Andras said, one pedal, try maybe half pedal, maybe you like it or not. If you practice,
correct.
No, we don't know. Yeah, at the end you have to decide. Yeah, on your own. So try different things. Yeah.
Betul. Well, every pianist have to do that. I mean, like every pianist likes to experiment things on the practice. Yeah, to explore what sound that they can make.
It's like
as a teacher tentunya, as a teacher tentunya kita juga sama students kadang-kadang, hey, what kind of sound that you can make from this? Oh, you're a big guy, very full of muscles, Of course, you automatically have big tone. Yes. Now try to do as pianissimo as possible with that big muscles. What muscle that you need to use? Like that kind of thing. We use the same piano, we play the same piece, but how come that the sound is different? So it's all about timing, it's all about touch, it's all about semuanya itu yang kita mesti coba jelaskan lagi.
Maybe you have any other question yang masih mau ditanya? Welcome. Mumpung Kalesinya masih di sini, so we can answer a question. So any question, there's no right or wrong question. You just ask anything. Ayo. Ada yang ingin bertanya lagi? Nggak ada. Apa mungkin ada maybe last advice before we finalize our session today? Mungkin dari Kalesi ada yang mau.
I'm not preparing anything for the closing. Saya hanya ingin bilang aja bahwa di masa-masa seperti sekarang ini, kalau memang Anda punya waktu as a teacher, as a player, as a student, bahkan gitu loh, try to explore more things about classical things, classical music gitu loh. Karena compared to like 20 or 30 years ago, it's going to be very, very hard to just find a record. Kita harus cari sampai sebagaimana rupa untuk mencari CD, mencari kaset, or even go to concerts just to listen to them. And itu those memories semuanya akhirnya sampai di kepala kita sampai kapanpun juga. Tapi karena sekarang every information is just like it's a snap, suddenly you have it right away. Itu menjadi nggak begitu berarti lagi gitu loh buat para pemain, nggak lagi menjadi memorable. Jadi itulah yang saya ingin coba tanamkan ke mereka gitu loh. Galilah lebih dalam, especially I like to dig more into the history. I like to dig more into the situation at that time. Because that's what composer feels at that time, because of the situations, because of how they feel at that time, not on the present, of course, during that period tentunya gitu. Dan most of the composer, especially Beethoven, is a rebel. Jujur aja, karena dia nggak pernah mau mengikuti tren. Ya, meskipun dia belajar semua fondasi dasar-dasarnya, but he always try to find a way to break through the traditions. Dan itu semua karena pergantian era itu tersebut juga, ya akhirnya ya kita bisa menikmati itu semuanya. Gitu. So even though it's very simple, Moonlight Sonata, well, everybody knows Moonlight Sonata. Even people who doesn't learn piano knows that it's a Moonlight Sonata. Now sekarang they have the cover version of rock guitar playing Moonlight Sonata, and then kemudian you have a singer singing Moonlight Sonata. Every instrument they played with the Moonlight Sonata. But only little people, especially you, in this group, in this webinar, now know how Beethoven created it. It's behind what's the story behind it? Itu yang justru yang penting kan. How he fell in love with this girl. Sampai, well, it's not really the immortal beloved yang siapa kalau nggak salah Anthony Brentano kalau nggak salah. He met like 10 years later from now. Well, he fell in love on some occasion with beberapa wanita, tapi selalu gagal. Sayangnya demikian. Apa namanya? Tapi ya itu dia justru yang menyebabkan dia mungkin ya sisi gelapnya itu, karena humornya itu pun juga ya. For me, it's more like menutupi semuanya, mencuci his dark side of in the music, gitu loh. Bahkan his 111, I think is one of the most beautiful last movement. Itu udah berupa doa lah. Gitu. So the journey of his sonatas, not only the piano sonatas, the violin sonatas, the symphonies, itu semuanya yang saya rasa perlu ya kita cari juga why. Gitu. But thank you for this opportunity, though.
Thank you for making time for us. Thank you so much. Kalesi, bravo performance and sharing, ya. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Ya, jadi seperti biasanya kita tetap ada seminar on Sundays as long as we are still in this condition and cannot go out. We try to make use of this time by having our next week. We have Stephanie. Most of you know Stephanie. We know her since she was a 15-year-old teenager. Now she's of course 10 years fast forward. She's a graduate, as a master in music. I think she just graduated. So she's going to share about Beethoven, ya, The Hunt, ya. Opus 31 nomor 3. Jadi next week kita ada Stephanie, jangan lewatkan, jamnya sama. Will be at Zoom, so we will view in our mailing list. We just sent you all the information in Zoom. So yeah, if you're new, you can RSVP. Kalau udah pernah RSVP, you should be getting the information. But just in case kalau enggak, boleh contact di our Instagram or through DM, yeah. Thank you so much, Levi. Thank you so much tonight, and thank you all for coming. And hope to see you next week. Yeah, stay healthy, everyone. Stay safe.
Bye.
Yeah, selamat malam. Thank you so much. Bye bye.